Why do some companies have a toxic culture, underperform, and eventually collapse? Look no further than their leadership. Toxic leadership creates detrimental effects on their direct reports that are obvious and hidden. The obvious effects on performance are anxiety. Low trust, excessive leave, limited productivity, and divisiveness dominates where cooperation is needed between workers and work units. The less obvious effects show up on limited employee development. They simply aren't growing or revealing their potential. If your company struggles with low employee engagement and high levels of passive job seeking, you're probably dealing with a systemic level of toxic leadership. This video identifies 5 traits or tells that you're dealing with an incompetent leader. Toxic leader sign number 1 is the confidence to competence gap. The what? In a word, arrogance. But this isn't just any kind of arrogance. It's the kind where someone thinks they are much better than they are. Remember that overpraised kid from grade school who astonished you with their confidence that didn't match their competence? You work for them now. When your confidence is in sync with your ability, you inspire trust and operate with a level of humility that leads to learning for them and their direct reports. Not so with the toxic leader. They are so concerned with feeling competent that they create a mental distortion that doesn't allow them to see and understand their actual level of competence. Their confidence may have impressed the right people, and because of that, they now enjoy the influence they haven't earned. What can your company do? It's not an easy problem to solve. Executive coaches who deal with arrogance know that they are likely to be shown the door when they try to wake up the leader to their gap. Human resource management practices that measure employee engagement, track groups with excessive leave and turnover, know that fixing a leader responsible for this is difficult. That's why organizations need to understand the impact of arrogance. That is, the gap between competence and confidence needs to be addressed in promotions, or they will pay for it later with much lower productivity. The Harvard Business Review published questions that can smoke out an arrogant leader. Here are the top 7 for your consideration. 1. Would most people want to be like you? 2. Do you rarely make mistakes at work? 3. Are you blessed with a natural charisma? 4. Are you able to achieve anything you want just by putting your mind to it? 5. Do you have a special gift for playing office politics? 6. Is it easier for you to fool people than for people to fool you? 7. Are you just too talented to fake humility? If you have a potential employee or leader who shows arrogance from these questions, move on. That brings us to toxic leader trait number 2, which is 2. Every performance gap is a motivation problem. Being a demanding leader with high expectations isn't the problem. Toxic leaders reveal themselves when they see every gap between expectation and performance as a motivation problem in their direct reports. Smart leaders deal with the gap by approaching it with curiosity and analysis, the kind that leads to learning and course correction. The gap opened the door to learning. Toxic leaders assume the worst and approach the gap with the stick of threat or worse, fire people who have underperformed. The gap made the employee and organization worse. When fear stalks the halls of a workplace, problems get hidden, and blame shifting becomes an art form as the work unit and the organization start to circle the drain. This isn't an easy problem to solve. It can be solved by hiring leaders who have shown the kind of character that comes with being responsible and focusing on progress rather than punishment. That leads us to toxic leadership trait number 3, which is 3. Stealing credit. Nothing is more demoralizing to employee morale than to see your ideas and innovations stolen by a leader trying to get ahead on the talent of others. Smart leaders showcase the talent of their direct reports, while toxic leaders do the opposite and do all they can to shift the spotlight to themselves. That brings us to the next toxic trait, closely related to number 3, but is slightly different. 4. Make me look good, or else. My first toxic leader explained himself this way: if you make me look good, I can help you. If you trash me behind my back, I'll find out and I won't be able to help you. Then he smiled and said, "I won't be able to help you because you'll be gone." This leader was obsessed with how others saw him in the organization, so much so that even a hint of reputational damage sent him into a blame-seeking rage. I started looking for another job once I understood who I was dealing with. This is what most competent people do when they notice that their leader is a damaged child trapped in an adult body. To finalize our list of the toxic tells or ways of knowing that you're dealing with a toxic boss, let's unwrap number 5. 5. Neglected development. Sometimes, work gets so busy and demanding that there's little time to develop. In healthy situations, you and your boss have to make development a priority. And with some juggling, it can be done. But with toxic bosses, it's a different story. They oppose your development because of their own insecurities. I worked with a company that started to have big-picture conversations about the level of performance and potential of the entire work unit. Human resource smart viewers will recognize this as a 9-box exercise, a matrix where you plot employees in 9 boxes based on a consensus of 3 performance levels and 3 potential levels. In our second year of doing the 9-box, we noticed 2 work units that had experienced high turnover and showed little progress on the development of potential or performance. We talked to employees who confirmed the toxic nature of their supervisors. We replaced these supervisors but wouldn't have known had we not had 9-box conversations to see the pattern. Neglected development is often hidden unless you do effective exit interviews. Have a strong HR organization that isn't afraid to go after toxic leaders and help the organization understand what and who is driving performance and developing potential. Ironically, this same organization didn't consider the extent to which a potential leader developed others, but did after this incident. In this video, I gave you 5 surefire ways of spotting the toxic leader. If you are a leader in an organization or part of HR, you must deal with toxic leaders or struggle with performance, and even put the health of the enterprise at risk by allowing them to stay in their role. If you got value from today's video, like the video and subscribe to the Change Capability Institute to support more content like this. Thanks for joining us today.